Alright, fellas, I think you can hear me. We're doing burn today. So, how burn works is it deals damage at the end of the turn, equal to the potency, and then the count goes down by 1. So it is by far one of, if not the easiest statuses to keep up. However, it's very limited on how much damage it can deal, due to it only being able to do 99 damage per turn without certain effects. Now, as for other effects, we have Searing Birdcage, which I'll get into that when we get to the egos. And the only one out of these buffs that will actually matter is Volatile Passion, which I'll get into when we get to Dawn Sinclair. Gas Harpoon is meh, or the Heated Gas Harpoon is It's alright, but that's also Pequod Captain Ishmael's main source of burn, and it's kind of mid. Now, as for burn identities that you will want, well, Liu Yisong, obviously, he provides up to 15 sanity for any ally that isn't himself, and at 4+ Wrath Resonance, that can be increased to 2 allies. And that's at turn end, passively, too. And his skill 3 will heal 15 SP for one other ally with the least SP. And if the attack killed the target, or if the target had 10 or more burn, that the amount of allies healed for 15 SP will also increase by 1. So basically, Liu Yisong is incredible for sanity. He keeps your sanity high. However, that isn't to say he's bad on the burn side. His S1 will inflict 4 burn potency. His S2 will also inflict 4 burn potency. However, it will inflict 2 burn count if the enemy had 6+ burn by the time he reaches his 3rd coin. So if at the start of the skill, and he hasn't lost any coins, the target had so actually let me explain it in stupid terms. If the target had 2 burn potency and he used an unopposed attack, he will inflict 4 burn potency, bringing it up to 6, and then will inflict 2 burn count, bringing up the count to at least 3. Now, as for his skill 3, it's not very good on the burn application side, only inflicting 4 again. However, it deals a lot of damage, up to 60% more damage on that 4th coin. And it will deal wrath damage equal to the burn potency up to 30, which is very sad that it's capped. And then it reduces the target's burn count by 2. However, this does mean that he is a very good for damage, as well as just being a general all-rounder. His counter is kind of mid. He gains up to 15 shield when using it, based on the burn on the target, and will inflict some burn based on if he has shield or not. Or the amount of burn is based on if he has shield or not. So, it's kind of meh. I mean, it's alright, but meh. Next up, we have Ardor Blossomstar Faust, or the LCE Faust. She does some really good burn application. And I mean really good. This S1 will inflict 5 burn. The S2 inflicts a good amount of burn as well. And the S3 also inflicts a good amount of burn. And she inflicts a good amount of burn. That's her whole thing. And her enhanced S3 does a lot of damage. However, she does kill herself. You heard that right. She kills herself. Her support passive is not bad, but she we'll get into who you could replace Ardor Blossom Starfaust with later. Next, we have Sink East Don Quixote, who is her only poise burn identity. She has very good poise upkeep. She has some of the best. She goes really, really fast, see? And, of course, her coin power, or her just rolls are pretty good. She inflicts Nerve Strike against target, which increases her base power and clash power. She's one of the better units, one of the better IDs for burn. And her passive allows her to deal burn potency on target, more damage for every crit she has. And assuming the target has Nerve Strike, then that cap will increase based on how much is there, up to 30. Her S1 inflicts 2 burn potency, and then on crit, that second coin will inflict 1 burn count. So, it's not bad. She's actually not bad for burn. And it gains her 3 poise count. Her skill 2 inflicts 4 burn potency, and a lot of defense level down. However, it also gives her up to 6 poise potency and 2 poise count. And lastly, her skill 3, which inflicts also 4 burn potency. However, that 4th coin will deal poise on self plus burn on target % more damage when she crits. And if the target has Nerve Strike, then she'll inflict 3 defense level down. In all, she also gains a bunch of poise potency on Clash Win. And her defense skill is not bad. In all, she's honestly not horrible for burn. I'd say she's pretty good. Her burn application is meh. However, she does have the highest sustained damage for the whole team. In my experience, at least. Now, there is Leo Ryoshu, who isn't bad by any means. She is over a year old, though, and a 2-star. However, she's not bad. Her burn application is pretty good, and she deals some decent damage. And the main thing about her is that she has guaranteed Forest of the Flames, unless you use Soda. But I made an entire video on why you don't use Soda. And then she also has 4th Match Flame, which, it inflicts a lot of burn. Just a lot of burn. Yeah. Either way, 4th Match Flame Ryoshu inflicts a lot of burn, and Liu Ryoshu isn't a horrible option if you have 4th Match Flame Ryoshu and need something to fill that final slot. Next, we have Thumb Capo Morsal. He is Tremor Burn. You've probably seen multiple videos covering him, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but he inflicts a good amount of burn. His conditionals are based on both burn and tremor. And most importantly for us, he inflicts Tremor Scorch, which on Tremor Burst means that target will take wrath damage equal to sum of Tremor potency and burn potency divided by 2, and then lose 1 burn count. So basically, you have an on-demand burn proc. Yeah. And his S3, well, the enhanced one at least, it does a lot of damage. He does a lot of damage, but he kind of sucks in short fights, or he kind of sucks in long fights. Like, really long fights, because he loses all of his ammo, and then he can't refill that ammo, and then he fucking dies. Yeah. He gains overheat, and at which point, yeah. Next we have Liu Ishmael. She's very old. Almost 2 years old, actually. As of 4 days from now, or maybe 3 days, she will be 4 years old. But she does inflict some good burn, and inflicts very good burn count. So if you want to use her, go ahead. She's not horrible. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Actually, no, I'll get into that when we get to the egos. Yeah. Now, as for Pequod Ishmael, her skill 2 applies 1 burn, her skill 3 applies 1 burn count, and her main source of burn is through Captain of the Pequod passive, which needs 3 Pride Resonance. Sorry about that if you could hear that. That's my cat having zoomies. Anyway. So the passive, as you can see, after attack, if the target is defeated, she will gain 4 poise and 2 points count. Then she will gain overheated gas harpoon, or just regular heated gas harpoon, next turn, for 1 turn. And overheated gas harpoon literally just makes it so that it's on hit instead of on heads hit. So her burn application is horrible. But she does have assist attack, which can make certain identities use their skill 1 early. Liu Roja is she's meh. She applies a good amount of burn count and does some good burn application, but she's meh. If you have her and need to fill a slot, go ahead. Use her. Burn is sadly very meh on terms of IDs, since we haven't really gotten much. Now we get into the fun stuff. First, the one who shall get her Enclair. You know him, you love him. He's then Claire. He inflicts 3 burn potency on his S1, which rolls horribly. He inflicts a grand total of 1, 3, 6. 6 burn potency on his S2 and 1 burn count. Assuming he's not starting the stack, because duh. And then his S3. Sorry, this was the S2. 6 burn potency on the S2. Now his S3, assuming the target has 5 or more bleed, he will inflict 7 burn potency. But that's it. He's alright for burn, but none of his conditionals are burn-based. And now we get to the man, the myth, the legend, Don Clare. His S1 inflicts only 2 burn potency and rolls a 10. No, my friend. When in volatile ego state, reuse the coin once per skill, meaning it inflicts 4 burn potency and rolls a 17. We'll get into that, though. His skill 2 inflicts 3 burn count and has AoE. A lot of AoE, up to 4 AoE. His S3, or the basic one, inflicts 6 burn potency, but is kind of shit. His good S3, the enhanced one, during ego state, inflicts, let's see here, 12 burn potency and 1 burn count to the main target. Basically, he inflicts a lot of burn potency with this. However, he can also deal, let's see, 60, 20, 120, 300% more damage with this skill. And it can roll about I don't know, 35, I think. Yeah. This rolls really high and does a lot of damage. He is your hyper carry. And his guard skill is mid, but it's alright, I guess. Now, as for how he works, let's start with his basic passive. He inflicts 1 more burn potency and count with his skills. So, every time he inflicts burn, that will go up by 1. Meaning this inflicts 6 burn count. This inflicts 6 burn potency. And this, it inflicts a lot of burn potency, still. When in volatile ego state and at 0 plus SP, he gains coin power. However, if he's at 40 SP, or 45 SP, he gains 3 coin power. And now for the main gimmick. If he's at 40 or more SP at the start of a turn, he will consume 20 SP to enter the volatile ego wax and pinion state. You probably know how this works. However, if 2 or more allies die in 1 turn, and if his unit isn't at negative 45 SP, if he isn't at negative 45 SP at turn end, his SP is reset to 20, and then he enters Volatile Ego. Now, what does the Ego state do? Well, multiple things. If he's staggered when entering the Ego state, he recovers from stagger. Unless it's something that cannot naturally be recovered from. And the main gimmick, Volatile Passion. On hit, inflict 1 burn. If the main target has burn, final power +1. Sorry, I was a bit thirsty. We can skip over that defense skill thing because I never see it happen. The only downside is that at turn end, he will lose up to 40 SP based on how many turns he's spent in the Ego state. But, as we've discussed, it makes him a hyper carry. It's like Dullahan for Wild Hunt Heathcliff. So, he is the reason you want Liu Yisong. Because he drains all of his sanity, while Liu Yisong is there for his sanity. And now we have you can shard him if you don't have Don Claire, but Don Sinclair is just better. He inflicts some tremor. He inflicts more tremor, and if they have 10 or more tremor scorch, inflict 2 burn count. And yeah. He doesn't do very much burn. He does supply a lot of tremor, though. He also does tremor scorch, but why would you have him? He's honestly kind of mid. However, he does supply ammo for Thumb or Salt. He's better off in your Tremor team than he is your Burn team. Because Dawn Claire is the GOAT. And now, we have Dark Flame Woman. The woman who made Burn actually do something before Lei Hung Marcel. Her S1 will inflict burn equal to Dark Flame on a target, so up to 7. And will inflict 1 Dark Flame next turn. And her S2, at less than 4 Magic Bullet, gain 1 Magic Bullet, then inflict Dark Flame equal to Magic Bullet, but next turn. It'll also inflict burn equal to Dark Flame on target. Her S3, this is the big one. Gains Magic Bullet. 1 Magic Bullet, though. Lose SP based on Magic Bullet. Attack weight is equal to Magic Bullet. At 10 or less SP, there's a 50% chance to target an ally. After the attack, if she's at 7 bullets, the bullet count will reset to 0, which counts as spending the last ammo. We'll get into what that can do. Now, the only thing this does is on hit, inflict Dark Flame equal to Magic Bullet next turn. This is uncapped. And as you can see, she deals a lot of damage based on burn. Her defense skill will gain Magic Bullet. However, she loses SP equal to Magic Bullet. Now, why would you want her? Well, actually, first off, her S3 will actually gain more power based on how much bullet she has. Up to 40. You heard that right. 40 power. Now, before we go to the Gregor ID, who was great, here is the other Magic Bullet, who you will desperately want to use with Magic Bullet Otis, the Identity. Preferably have the Identity before getting the Ego. Before attack, she will gain Magic Bullet very quickly. However, the 7th bullet will kill herself. So don't use the Ego when she has 7 bullets. She does inflict a Dark Flame equal to Magic Bullet, though. And, more importantly, passive. For Lobotomy Ego Otis... Yeah, for Magic Bullet Otis, the Identity, she inflicts Magic Bullet burn, so equal to burn on hit. Up to 3 times per turn. And if the target has 30 or more burn, she will inflict 1 Dark Flame per hit. Which means this goes from 1 Dark Flame application to 3. And this goes from up to 4 to 6. And yeah. Basically, this is a steroid for this. Now we get to Fire Fist Gregor. He inflicts a lot of burn potency and burn count. First, his S1 inflicts 2 burn potency and 2 burn count. Next, his S2 inflicts 2 burn potency, then inflicts 2 more burn potency. Then it'll inflict 2 burn count and a more burn count. Yeah. And lastly, his S3. It inflicts a lot of burn and does a lot of damage. Yeah. Honestly, he just does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage and applies a lot of burn. He's one of the best IDs for burn, so yeah. Then we have 4th Match Flame Yi-Song. If you have him, great. If you don't have him, you don't need to. We're going to skip 9-2 Faust. Lifetime Stew Don Quixote isn't horrible. She inflicts good burn potency, or no, burn count. Now, I've already covered Forest of the Flames and 4th Match Flame, so we'll skip them. Capote Morsel. Let me go back to Lei Hung Morsel, or Thumb Morsel. Tremor Scorched needs Tremor Potency as well as Burn Potency. What does Capote do again? Inflicts 10 burn potency, and then inflicts tremor based on how much burn potency the target has. So it brings up the tremor to match the burn, and then it does a tremor burst. However, this does mean that you have an instant, have a very reliable way to do bring Tremor Scorch up to standard. Yeah. Seeing as Heathcliff doesn't have any burn IDs, or egos outside of Holiday, I'm not going to cover Holiday Heathcliff. Capote Ishmael inflicts some good burn, I guess. She's alright, but she's not horrible, you know? Ardor Blossom Ishmael, though, inflicts a lot of burn. And her passive makes her inflict even more burn. She also does a lot of damage. So if you're using Ardor Blossom Ishmael with Liu Ishmael, that's a lot of burn. Next up, we have 4th Match Flame Roja. She's alright, I guess. She's not great, but she's not horrible, you know? Honestly, if you want my thoughts on which level ego you should use for Roja, you should either use Pursuance, because this heals a lot, or Hex Snail, because it heals pretty well, and it's just really easy to fuel for some fucking reason. Outside of that, Envy, of course. But then again, Pursuance is also very easy to fuel now. And now we get to the fun stuff. Indicant's Trial Rodion. She will heal allies and is a Vow level ego. She costs 7 burn points, 7 wrath, and 3 pride. She heals allies for a lot, though. Will inflict 8 burn potency, and based on wrath resonance, she'll inflict up to 3 Searing Birdcage. Which, let's see what that does. Max stack of 5. If the unit has burn, their wrath resistance will go up by 0.1. Now you may assume that is a bad thing. However, that is a good thing. Because that means they will take 0.1% or 10% more damage. See? It makes this... So, if we look at these resistances, right? Ineffective, this ineffective here, would go from a 0.5x to a 0.6x, with only 1 Searing Birdcage. They also gain bind equal to the stack next turn, and then they will lose half the stack at turn end. That can inflict up to 3 Searing Birdcage, though. As for her corrosion, well, this inflicts 10 burn potency, 1 burn count, and if it hits the main target, or just on the main target, she will inflict up to 5 Searing Birdcage. Which means that it goes up by 5 points to the resistance. However, sadly, that cannot exceed 2 times wrath damage. Now, on kill for that second coin, first off, that second coin will deal a lot more damage based on how much burn potency is on them. And on kill with that second coin, apply 1 wrath power up and 1 wrath damage up to all or ally 1 plus highest resonance allies with the least HP percentage. Which means max of 6 allies, and only once per skill. So basically, seeing as Burn really likes their wrath resonance, you're going to be giving a lot of a Wrath power up, or 1 Wrath power up, and 1 Wrath damage up to all your allies. And the passive is not horrible, I guess. It's not great, but it's not horrible. Life times 2 Sinclair is garbage. For burn, at least. 9-2 Sinclair, however, isn't horrible. Inflicts up to 8 burn potency. And yeah, that's about it. He inflicts some good burn potency, but that's about it. And yeah, that's everything for the burn IDs. However, as you've probably noticed, I keep coming back to Tremor Scorch. And I mentioned someone you could replace Ardor Blossomstar Faust with. Let's go take a look at Tremor, shall we? And here is who you can replace Tremor or Ardor Blossomstar Faust with. She inflicts a good amount of Tremor count and clashes alright. She also makes the target lose some clash power, so she clashes even better. And yeah. Her S2 will inflict 5 Tremor potency. Basically, she's going to generally debuff enemies, which is great. And her S3 that has 3 Tremor bursts, and more importantly, will deal wrath damage equal to 30% of the final stagger threshold raised. Meaning that she deals wrath damage equal to 30% of the Tremor potency. Up to 20 per Tremor burst. So, she will deal a lot of damage and make Tremor Scorch go kaboom. There's another reason you will want to use her, though. Everlasting Faust will entangle Tremor Scorch to also have Everlasting, multiplying our Tremor bursts by 3. And it also has a built-in Tremor burst number of 4. Meaning Everlasting Faust becomes a Tremor Scorch nuke. In all, yeah. Basically, some Tremor IDs, though not many, are surprisingly good for burn due to Tremor Scorch. And the main IDs you should go for are Liu Yisung, not LCE Faust, Regret Faust, Sync Don Quixote, Thumb Mersault, Dawn Sinclair, Magic Bullet Otis, and Firefist Gregor. And as for egos, well, Everlasting Faust, Capote Mersault, and Magic Bullet Otis. Those are the ones that matter the most. Bye-bye now.